Say welcome back to Meech Speaks.
Welcome back to Meech Speaks.
No, Meech Speaks.
Welcome back to 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 Meech Speaks.
I want to say something. A prize, motherfucker.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Meech Speaks. I'm your host, Demetrius Thickpen, also known as Meech Speaks. And before we get started with this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave an honest review on your favorite streaming platform because this podcast deserves to grow just as much as we. But anyways, happy Monday, everybody. I hope your week is going to go as good as you want it to be honest with you. But with that being said, let's just go ahead and just address the elephant in the room. So if you follow me on Instagram at Meech Speaks, then you probably are familiar with a post and a comment that I recently have said. You know what I mean? And the comment goes along, you're not a Marine 24/7. Now, I feel like we got to address that, and I told myself that I would allow this episode to provide any more context to that statement that wasn't already provided within the comments, which wasn't already provided within the live, which wasn't already provided within the reel. You know what I mean? Like I told myself that I would dedicate an episode to that particular statement. And I really want to just say that before we dive any deeper, that when I say things like I don't think a lot of people really understand like how long something probably had been sitting with me. You know what I mean? Before I actually say it. So like it ain't one of the moments where I just like, oh man, you know what to get the community really up in a buzz. You know what to really ruffle some feathers. You know what to really get some traction to my account. Why don't I just go ahead and say something to make everybody feel as if I'm attacking who they are? For those who don't know, man, like I actually have been alluding to that for quite some time. You can probably hear it in my episodes. You can hear it in my reels. You can hear it in the topics that I'm talking about. Mindset. What motivation actually means. And I think it's kind of pretty obvious that when I talk about being human, that I'm referring to you outside of uniform as well. You would think that when you hear me say that, this podcast is dedicated to mindset, motivation, and what it means to be a human inside the military, that I'm going to talk about you outside of the military, outside of uniform. So when I say that you're not a Marine 24/7, please understand that I'm not attacking your identity. I'm not. And I had to take a step back after I posted that because I knew that wasn't going to sit well with people when they read that. You feel me? Especially without enough context, they were going to immediately read that and feel a certain way. Some people even got really emotional about it. You know what I mean? I think it was one guy, like, he made a fucking live. You feel me? Like, he made a fucking live about my comment. You know what I mean? About my post. And was all up and down the damn live, hooping, hollering, and yelling, just getting out of character with who he is. And I'm just sitting back and I'm thinking to myself, like, whoa, let's dial it back, man. Let's dial it back and really, really dissect what I just said. Because once again, I'm not attacking you. And I have to understand how everyone feels. The guy that made the live, like, I completely understand his emotional reaction. Anybody that feels a certain way towards it, I understand how you feel. I truly do. Now, one thing that I gotta say is that just because I understand how you feel doesn't mean that I agree with it. The same way that some people just don't agree with what I'm saying. I understand that. I mean, you really got to just take into consideration, man, is that a lot of us join the Marine Corps, and I use the Marine Corps as an example because that's the branch that I'm in. But a lot of us join the Marine Corps fresh out of high school, 17, 18 years old. For many of us, the Marine Corps was our last option before we would have ended up in the system or ended up a statistic. So I completely understand if you feel like I might be attacking. I do. But please understand that the Marine Corps is what saved me. You feel me? Like the Marine Corps is what saved me. And I know y'all have heard that statement before. 18-year-old me joining the Marine Corps, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. You know, either I was going to end up working in the factories, end up selling drugs, end up dead. Like the Marine Corps definitely saved me. And I tell people all the time, this is one of the biggest life hacks for you. It will pull you out of your environment, get you away from your friends, force you to have to figure out who you are and survive on your own. And when you learn how to survive on your own and figure out exactly who you are, it sets you up to be light years ahead of your peers. But there's other aspects to you. And I got to say that one more time, man, because I don't know who needs to hear this. There's other aspects of you. You can't just be a Marine 24/7. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't be a Marine 24/7. And when I say that, man, please understand that I'm not saying get rid of your core values. What I'm saying, I'm not saying to get rid of or forget the things that have been instilled in us. And when I mean the things that have been instilled to us, I'm talking about the teachings from our predecessors, our core values of honor, courage, and commitment. Are ethical. I'm not telling you by no means to disrupt your moral compass and go out and do some heinous shit. I'm not saying that. I'm just telling you to show up in other aspects of your life just as much as you show up as the Marine. And I'll say that again. I'm just telling you. Let me rephrase that. I'm just reminding you that you need to show up and other aspects in your life just as much as you show up as the fucking Marine. I get it. You on call 24/7. I get it. If the phone rings at 2:00 in the morning, you up ready to rock and roll. I get it. If somebody tell you right now that you got duty or something, or you need to go take care of this Marine, you doing it with no questions asked. I get it. But you need to keep that exact same energy with your spouse. You need to keep that exact same energy with your kids. You need to keep that exact same energy with your education. You need to keep that exact same energy with your mental health. You need to keep that exact same energy with your physical health. You need to keep that exact same energy with your life outside of the military. That's what I mean. The moment that I said that, we ain't Marines 24/7, y'all assumed that I was attacking everybody. But let's just go ahead and just keep it a buck real quick. When you go to therapy, they not saying, hey, Stats aren't therapy. How you feeling today? They gonna say, hey, Demetrius, how do you feel? Talk to me about your family. Talk to me about your upbringing. When you go home, your spouse ain't calling you by your rank, and neither do your kids. You just showing up differently. Let me rephrase. Hold on. Let me calm down. Because the last thing that I want is for anybody to feel like I'm attacking them. That's the last thing. But come on, man. Let's just keep it a buck. You walk in your house, you get out of your uniform, you lay it down on the couch, hang it up. I don't know what you do with it. You probably ball it up and toss it in a corner, depending on how the day went. But you decompress. If anything, y'all know that I talk about mental health on a regular basis. I talk about emotional health on a regular basis. Sometimes in order to recharge, you have to take a step back, man. You know what I mean? You got to disconnect for a little bit. I've seen it so many times, and I don't know who's listening, but ask your leadership. Ask your leadership what happens when you show up in one aspect of your life 24 hours and neglect everything else. Ask them how that plays out. Now, for some of us, we have mastered the idea of balance. More power to you. But for others, they haven't. I know some great Marines that are piss poor parents. And when I say piss poor parents, they just don't know their kids. They barely know them. You know what I mean? They see them early in the morning and they only see them 4 hours at the end of the day. And barely see them on the weekends. I know some Marines right now, they great Marines, man, but they shitty spouses. Not because they out cheating on them, but because they constantly own the boys. I mean, shit. You think divorce is at an all-time high solely because you motherfuckers be marrying strippers at Toby's? You think that divorce at an all-time high solely because you married your high school sweetheart? No. It's at an all-time high because you moved that motherfucker across the country. And even then, though, you probably would have been able to iron a lot of things out, but you don't even see that person 14 hours out of the day. Come on. Because you a Marine more than you are a husband, a wife, a sister, a mother, a brother, a auntie. I could go down the list. Once again, I'm not attacking your identity. But some of us have to understand that we are multifaceted individuals. There's so many layers to us. There's so many aspects to us. And as we dive deeper into this episode, I will give you different perspectives from my life that really brought me to this idea that you cannot be a Marine 24/7. All right, so let's just talk a little bit about my past and what really brought me to this idea that, as I navigate through that idea of what, being a Marine 24/7 or not being a Marine 24/7 even looks like. Now, have y'all ever seen that mugshot of me? You feel me? When I did the Not So Meritorious podcast, like, everybody could see me shaking my captain's hand to receive an award. But y'all look deeper into that picture, like y'all could probably see my mugshot there. You know what I mean? I think I've posted it a couple of times, and I'll probably post it later on this week just to remind people, just to remind everybody real quick. Because to be honest with you, I feel like people will assume that, they see me on Instagram, they see me just talking, and they think that, oh, Meech must speak. That's all he does. You feel me? And then when I post that mugshot, everybody's like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, they forget that I was very active. And I bet you were waiting for me to say before the Marine Corps. Absolutely not. I was active while I was in. I was very out there. I was really a lot to handle in my earlier years. And I bring that up, man, because as a junior Marine, I wanted to keep my life very separate from the military. You know what I mean? I wanted to keep my life very separate from the military. In a sense that, once I got out of town and once I was away from Camp Pendleton, let me rephrase that. Once I got out of Oceanside, I would toss my earrings in, you feel me? And I would just go ahead and just move a little bit differently. If somebody asked me if I was in the military, I would just tell them I was there for college. I went to SDSU. You know what I mean? Like, I really wanted to keep that aspect of my life very separate. And I know a couple of people that still do this. And I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all know a couple of people that do this. Like, you want to keep that part of you very separate. And I understand. I'll just go ahead and just tell you right now, you the only one that's fucking lying. Everybody knows that you're lying. You feel me? I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you in San Diego, let me rephrase that. If you in San Diego or North Carolina, the Jacksonville area, which extends to Wilmington, which extends to fucking Raleigh, which extends to fucking Fayetteville, and you got a fade, I'm going to just go ahead and just keep it a buck. You need to stop telling people that you're not in the military. They already fucking know. They already know. But you couldn't tell Lance Cooper Thig being that, and you definitely couldn't tell PFC Thig being that. But I used to tell people that. I wasn't in the military. Whole time, I'm a fucking private PFC and Lance Corporal in the Marine Corps. And that kind of bit me in my ass, man, because I ended up getting arrested. I want to say probably like, the mugshot is me going to jail. I've been arrested multiple times. The mugshot is just me going to jail. I've been arrested multiple times. But throughout all of those, they all had a significant trend to them. I wasn't behaving like I was supposed to out in town. You know what I mean? Like, I just wasn't behaving the way I was supposed to. And I feel like a lot of people, like, when they heard me say that, you're not a Marine 24/7, they thought that I was referring to that portion right there. That particular group of people, that person right there. They thought I was talking about that person. I was actually reminding you. Like, if you give up your core values, right? If you forsake the teachings that have been already given you, right? Like you just ignore all of that, your ass will get kicked out of the military 100% because of the shit that you're doing. You gonna fuck around, pop on a piss test. You gonna fuck around and get a DUI. You gonna fuck around and get arrested. You gonna fuck around, go to jail. You gonna fuck around and do all of those things because you're not behaving. You're not behaving in that way. And let's not even talk about a behavioral portion real quick, because I'm utilizing my past as a catalyst for this topic of this conversation. But people who do not behave, like, and they do not utilize that work ethic that has already been instilled in us, they do not utilize these, I just can't, they don't utilize that Marine shit that's been put in us. You feel me? They end up getting out and not being successful. They say they're gonna go to college and don't even use it. You know what I mean? End up working at fucking Home Depot, burning their damn GI Bill out, and now they stay back at home with their family doing the exact same shit. All those years giving up, and it's pretty much just set them behind. And now they had this fucked up ass idea towards the military. My behavior, and now let's talk back about me. My behavior was so, how do I say? I wouldn't say bad, but my behavior was so unbecoming that it eventually it was going to catch back up to me. You know what I mean? Like, eventually it was going to catch back up to me. And that's when I got NJP. And it took me getting NJP, and that's what I tell people, like, my NJP was the best thing that ever happened to me. That was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it caused me to slow down, take a step back, realize what I was fucked up at. And it was because of that NJP I dove head first. You know what I mean? Dove head first into being, 100% a Marine. Both in and outside of uniform. And I reaped the benefits, man. Like, I reaped the benefits. IT as a corporal, section leader before I was even a sergeant, squad leader. You know what I mean? Marines love me. But I wasn't showing up for other aspects of myself, though. And I'll say that again. I wasn't really showing up for any other aspects for myself. When I went all in, I decided to just go all in. And I bring that up, man, because it took me 3 years before I went all in. Some of y'all have went all in from the moment that you stood on those yellow footprints. Here it is now, 12 years, 17 years, 18 years, 19 years, 20 years into your enlistment, and you have went all in. You have not taken a look at any other aspect of your life. And you probably have told yourself that you would deal with that bridge when you get there. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. You would deal with that bridge when you EAS. And that's I bring that up because that's the way that I thought. And I stayed like that. My NJP happened in 2013. I stayed like that all the way up until 2019. So for 6 years, I stayed like that. Learning different aspects of myself. I could have started speaking years ago. I just felt like that wasn't, that just, everybody in the Marine Corps could do that. That wasn't me looking at a different aspect of my life. Marriage was in shambles because I was always on the boys. My kids didn't even know who I was. Matter of fact, I think that during that time I was deployed. And when my son was getting his spine tapped, I didn't even connect with him. And when they told me that we needed to make funeral arrangements for it, once again, I really didn't even connect with him. I ain't got time to worry about that. I'm on the boys. I'm a Marine 24/7. I'll cry when I get a chance. And for those who don't understand, the only time that I actually had a chance to take a step back and actually to face my own emotions towards that situation was late at night. I would turn the shower on and I would cry because I knew I was wrong. I knew I was wrong for how I was acting. I knew that. But I gotta train Marines. I ain't got time to face my own issues. I got Dream Marines that need me. I got taskers I gotta knock out. I'll deal with it when I deal with it. And I'm pretty sure there's somebody listening to this podcast right now who has said that they'll deal with it when they deal with it. Whole time they falling apart behind the scenes. I apologize. It took me 6 years to realize that. And by those 6 years, by the time I finally realized that because I neglected the other aspects, there were portions in my life that I could not save anymore. Luckily, I was able to address it as a sergeant, realizing that I got a fucking drinking problem now. Realize I barely have a relationship with my kids. Realize that I don't even know, I barely even have a relationship with their mother. The only thing that I was good at for 6 years in my military career was being a Marine. That was the only thing that I was good at. But nobody knew that I would come home and get drunk and pass out on the balcony. Nobody knew that just because I was there early wasn't because I was just trying to get there before everybody else. I just needed a place where I can fucking decompress without nobody being around. And it finally came to a head when I got sent to Sacco. And I know this seems like a drawn out episode, but I feel like I got to finally provide y'all with some context to why I think like this. And I finally got sent to Sacco. And I want to say, before I even say this right here, man, like, look, I ain't get sent to Sacco because I was a patient. I got sent to Sacco to go work there. And I know what you're thinking right out the gate, man. Like, no, I am not a shitbag. I am not a shitbag. My chief warrant officer actually was the one that sent me. And in the very beginning, I fought him tooth and nail on that situation. I said I was the best sergeant in the shop. Why the hell am I going to Sacco? Send one of these pieces of shit. Why the hell am I going to Sacco when I got all the qualifications that would make me great here? What'd I do? What did I do wrong? And I remember him telling me, and this is the crazy thing because it still sits with me. He said that, in the Marine Corps, we got a nasty habit of sending our shit bags away, with the idea that they need to be somebody else's problem. That's not how I do business. I feel like we need to send our best Marines away so they can focus on themselves, to give them a moment to take a break, to give them a moment so they can take a break from all of this, because all of this will wear on you. And even as he was saying that, like, he's really giving me game right now. Like, he's really giving me a jump. I'm fighting him on this because I can't believe that he's sending me. And I remember going over to the Sacco, and it was another staff sergeant there. And I'm thinking I'm about to go there and spend time with like a piece of shit staff and see, go ahead. I got to keep a buck. This guy is actually top tier, both as a Marine and as a fucking human. And I needed to go over there because that's the piece that I was really missing. The human aspect. And what's so crazy is that I started walking that line towards that aspect. But it was because I went there. That's when I figured it out. I remember being at Sacco and my staff NCO, he would come up to me and he'd be like this, "Hey, Thigpen, man, when's the last time you talked to your kids? You know what I mean? When's the last time you seen your kids? Hey, man, look, we ain't got nothing going on. It's a 96, man. Just go ahead, grab your stuff, head on down there. If anything happens, let me know." You know what I mean? They 6 hours away, bro. Go ahead and go see your children. Hey, man, I heard that you had a show up in LA. That's good that you focus on other aspects of yourself. You don't have to give so much to it. Understanding that part, man, like, really made me realize the different aspects of ourselves. I didn't become a good leader until I became a father, and until I focused on being a father. It was the learnings that I had acquired from there that helped me in different aspects of my leadership. Motherfuckers love to praise me, for how good I speak, but don't know that I speak at colleges as well. Not just to men, but also at women empowerment seminars. That's why I'm able to articulate my words and speak to different people, speak to multiple people from different walks of life. That came from that. I know what it's like to be a shitbag Marine because I used to be a shitbag Marine. So when I tell people, man, like, look, man, like you're not a Marine 24/7. I don't mean that you're not a Marine. I'm just trying to tell you that you got other aspects of your life, bro, that you got to attend to. And I know that may seem hard, man, but at some point you got to take a step back. You can't show up to heal yourself as Sergeant Thigpen. Sergeant Thigpen did not heal me. Being Sergeant Thigpen did not heal me. And in fact, it exhausted me. I had to show up as Demetrius. You think that like it's easy to sit here and talk about anxiety, depression, alcoholism, divorce, other aspects that plague us within the military community? You think it's hard to you think it's easy just to talk about that? Absolutely. It is. It's so hard to talk about this shit. I'll let me phrase that. Absolutely not. It's so hard to talk about this shit. It took me a long time sitting with myself. And lastly, man, like I share these pieces of myself with everybody because of the simple fact that if you don't show up for yourself at some point, like you don't show up differently for yourself, then you're going to have to. That's it right there. If you don't show up now for yourself, don't worry. Eventually you will. You know what I mean? And when I say eventually you will, like one of the saddest things I've ever seen is see a Marine that, gave 20 years of their life, 17 years of their life, 18 years, 23 years, how long it is before you get out of the military. They gave up a big chunk of their life. Time they ain't gonna never get back. And they ain't got nothing to show for it. They say once a Marine, always a Marine, but once you get out, please understand that you about to be unemployed. And that idea ain't gonna put food on the table. Now here you is, 38, gotta go to college. You could have did that while you was in. Now you 38, you don't know who the fuck you are. You could have figured that out while you was in. Here you are, 38, trying to repair your marriage. You could have did that shit when you was in. Here you are now, 38, trying to be a father to your kids. Could have did that shit while you was in. We get so hung up on this idea that being a Marine 24/7 means just being a Marine, not realizing that that's very exhausting. Other aspects of you make up who you are. And just because I show up as a father, please understand that I haven't stopped being a Marine. It's just the teachings that I'm learning as a father right now. Trust I'm going to bring it back to give to the Marine. And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Now, do me a favor. If you're on Apple or Spotify, don't forget to leave a 5-star review for this podcast. And lastly, hit that subscribe button because this podcast deserves to grow just as